Let me tell you something that is going to completely reframe how you think about language and attraction. Most men believe that creating desire requires elaborate conversation, impressive stories, perfectly timed wit, the right amount of mystery balanced against the right amount of openness. But relationship psychology keeps arriving at the same conclusion from multiple directions. The two words that create the deepest, most lasting desire in another person have nothing to do with cleverness or performance. They are, "I noticed." That's it. Two words. And what comes after them, the specific, genuine, carefully observed thing that you actually noticed about her, is what changes everything. Because being truly noticed by another person is one of the most profound human experiences available, and it is far rarer than it should be. Here is something a lot of men carry without naming it clearly. You are genuinely interested in the woman in your life. You find her compelling. You notice things about her constantly. The way she thinks, the particular things that light her up, the specific qualities that make her different from anyone else you've encountered. You carry all of that internally, but it stays internal. It never quite makes it into words. And so from where she is standing, she experiences a man who is present but not expressive, who cares but doesn't communicate that care in ways she can actually feel and receive. The result is a connection that could be extraordinary but stays ordinary, not because the feeling isn't there, but because the words that would let her feel it never quite arrive. Today we fix that. Before we go further, you need to understand why these two specific words carry such disproportionate psychological weight. The human brain has a dedicated neural network, sometimes called the default mode network, that is constantly engaged in self-referential processing. We are always, at some level, wondering how we are perceived. Whether we matter, whether the impression we are making on the people around us reflects who we actually are. When someone says, "I noticed," and follows it with something accurate and specific about us, something that required real attention to observe, that network receives a direct, powerful signal. This person was paying attention to me specifically. I registered as worth watching closely. That signal activates the brain's reward circuitry in a way that generic compliments simply don't reach. Being specifically noticed produces a neurochemical response that being generally praised does not. And that response, that felt sense of being truly seen, is one of the primary building blocks of deep attraction. This distinction is everything, so let's be precise about it. A compliment addresses what someone has or looks like. It comments on surfaces. It requires minimal observation to produce and can be offered to almost anyone with minimal modification. You're beautiful. You're smart. You're funny. These are not bad things to say, but they don't prove anything about how carefully you've been watching. Noticing is different. Noticing requires you to have actually paid attention, to have been present enough and interested enough to observe something specific, something that could only be said about her, based on actual observation of how she specifically moves through the world. I noticed that you always ask how the other person is doing before you answer any question about yourself. That cannot be said to anyone. It required watching her specifically, and she knows it. That's the difference. And she feels it immediately. Let's make this practical, because notice things is useful advice only if you know what kind of things to notice. The first category is behavioral patterns, the consistent things she does that reveal her character. How she treats service workers, whether she follows through on small promises, the particular way she handles stress. The second category is emotional responses, what genuinely moves her, what she finds funny, what she gets animated about, what makes her go quiet in a thoughtful rather than withdrawn way. The third category is the gap between how she presents and who she actually is, the places where her public self and her interior self are slightly different, and the interior self is even more interesting. The fourth category is growth and change, the ways she is becoming something over time that she wasn't quite before. Each of these categories produces observations that no generic compliment could replace. The two words work in any context, but they work most powerfully in three specific moments. The first is during a quiet, genuine conversation when nothing performative is happening, when you're both simply present together and you say it naturally, without preamble. The second is after she has done something that she probably didn't expect anyone to register. The small kindness, the thoughtful detail, the thing that cost her something that she didn't announce. The third, and perhaps the most powerful, is when significant time has passed since the thing you noticed occurred, when you bring it up weeks later, unprompted, because that timing proves something extraordinary. You were still holding it. You stored it. It stayed with you. That kind of retention communicates a depth of attention that is nearly impossible to fake and nearly impossible to forget. The words themselves are only part of what creates the impact. How they are delivered determines whether they land as genuine or performative. Slow down when you say it. Let the two words come out at the pace of someone who means something, not rushed, not casual, not tossed off between other sentences. Give it its own moment. Make eye contact that is warm rather than intense. The kind of eye contact that says, I am here and I mean this, rather than I am watching you be affected by this. And then, after you've said the specific thing you noticed, stay quiet. Don't fill the space. Let her receive it without immediately moving past it. The silence after a genuine observation is not awkward. It is the space where what you said actually lands. Here is something worth naming that doesn't get discussed enough. Practicing genuine noticing, making it a real habit of attention rather than a conversational technique, changes who you are in relationship. It makes you more present, more genuinely curious, more emotionally intelligent in ways that extend far beyond any single conversation. The man who notices specifically becomes the man who sees specifically, and the man who sees specifically becomes the man that people, not just the woman he's attracted to, but everyone in his life, feel genuinely known by. That quality of being someone who truly sees the people around him is not just attractive, it is rare. It is the kind of character that creates lasting, meaningful connection at every level of a person's life. Single observations create moments. Consistent noticing over time creates something else entirely, a felt sense of being continuously seen by someone who never stops paying attention. That accumulated experience of being with someone who keeps finding new things worth noticing in you, who never stops looking closely enough to see something new, is one of the most powerful generators of sustained desire available in relationship. She doesn't just feel attracted to you in the moment you say it. She begins to associate your presence with the experience of being genuinely seen. And that association deepens every time you add to it. Start now. Notice something real. Say it specifically. Let the practice become who you are. Here is the simplest truth underneath everything we covered today. I noticed works not because it is clever. It works because it is the verbal expression of something that every human being is quietly hungry for, to be genuinely, specifically, carefully seen by another person. She is not hoping for perfection from you. She is hoping for attention, real attention, the kind that proves she is worth watching closely, the kind that takes what it observes and finds it not just acceptable, but genuinely remarkable. You already have the capacity to offer that. It doesn't require any quality you don't currently possess. It requires only the decision to actually look, and then the courage to say what you find. 2 words, what follows them, and the genuine intention underneath both. That is everything. If today shifted something in how you think about attention and connection, subscribe. Every week we go this deep into the psychology of desire, language, and what it genuinely means to see another person. I'll see you in the next one. Notice something real today, then say it.